Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Keppel. I'm here for Poppystamps today, and I wanted to show you a way to use one of their brand new dies, which is the Winged Bird die. So I'm going to place that die on a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch piece of Gina K cardstock. I had the sentiment die there just for a second, just for placement. I'm going to tape it down with some Therm purple tape, just temporarily adhering it to the cardstock so it stays exactly where I want to cut it out. And then I'm going to run it through my Sizzix machine. And you can see that I did use a precision base plate there, mostly just because it was already on the Sizzix, but it also does help to make sure that it cuts through all those tiny little pieces that we're going to pop out, and that creates our bird, which is sort of that negative space there. Now I'm going to use one of the STITCHWORK frames dies. These are the rectangles, and I'm using the largest rectangle shape, which stretches all the way to the 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card. So I'm not going to use that center rectangle. I'll set that aside for another card, but I am going to use the frame. And again, I did use that precision base plate. Just makes it easier to make sure that all those tiny little holes did cut out. And you can see I can lay that right over the card panel that we created with the bird cut out. Now I am going to cut out the FOLKSY script Hello die, but first I want to back this light blue cardstock with some Therm iCraft Easy Cut adhesive, which is that thin double-sided adhesive. Now I am using Therm Mixed Media Adhesive, which is a liquid adhesive, and I've placed it in a precision applicator tip. This way I can put a little dot on all the closed spaces of the frame and lay it down. These frames are really easy to apply with liquid adhesive because you have a little time to maneuver it around. I backed the bird with a different color of cardstock, and now I am going to use the Tonic Studios Nuvo Crystal Glaze to fill in these feathers on the bird's wings. And next I'm going to use some of the 28 Lilac Lane Buttons and Galore mix. It's got buttons and these tiny little star kind of like sequins in the mix. And so I'm just using those tiny little stars and laying it over the wet crystal glaze, and that will adhere them down, and the parts that are not covered by the little stars will be dimensional and shiny. I really love the crystal glaze for that. You can see that before I started, the tip was a little sticky, and so I had to just use a pin to unclog the nozzle. That's never happened to me before with this adhesive, so I'm not sure what was going on there, but with a pin it was fine and I unclogged it. Now I'm just finishing up those feathers, and I'm going to peel off one of the hellos with the backed adhesive on it and just lay it down where I want it on the card. I can move it around until I really adhere it down with my bone folder, and then it is stuck for good. So I'm going to take the two other hellos that I cut out and just pop out those little pieces from the H and the script loops from the L and the O. And then I'm going to lay it down on top of the first one that we placed on the card. And I like to do this starting on the left-hand side and doing it one letter at a time. If you try and line up this whole die, it is so fine and delicate that you might not get it straight all over. So if you start with one letter at a time and then press it down, you'll get it nice and straight, and that creates tons of dimension on your card. Now I am using Thermoweb's Mini Zots. They are a dry adhesive, so not a liquid adhesive, so I don't have to wait for them to dry. They're super, super sticky, so they keep things like buttons and sequins adhered down, and even these little pearls that came in the mix as well. So all you have to do is lay them on top of the Mini Zot and then peel off your embellishment and then stick it down to your card panel. Next, I'm going to use some Memory Runner XL to adhere the card panel down to a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch top folding note card, and that completes my bird. So this is just one way to use this die. I'm sure there are a billion other ways you could create a shaker card or just leave it backed with different colors of cardstock, but I really liked making those feathers very special with the crystal glaze and the tiny stars. If you're interested in any of the supplies that I use, they'll all be linked down below. If you'd like to subscribe to my YouTube channel, you can do that here. Check out my blog for more information, and I'll have a couple of videos that you might be interested in. I want to thank you so much for stopping by today. Have a wonderful day.